Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how you can have a custom GUI in your full conversion mod for Amnesia. This does not work for custom stories, and GUI stands for Graphical User Interface, which basically means the menus and the different buttons and the UI user interface that you see, like your inventory for example, although that's a little different, but I could include that as well. Mainly the GUI is the menu itself, for example the graphics options, and most of these things aren't really something you'd want to change or need to change in a mod, but if you are really going all the way to make your mod unique, then you could of course mess around with this. It will take you some time because there's a lot of trial and error and just modifying files and editing, because there's a lot of files to modify, but I'm going to show you how you can start off with this, and then you can experiment with it as much as you'd like. Alright, so right now I have this mod example right here, which it's an isolated full conversion mod, and it's pretty basic right now. It just has a lot of folders, but you might not have all of them. You probably have maps, main menu, and config, but the other ones you may or may not have. But if I start it up, I can show you how it looks right now. It's very simple. It's nothing very advanced, but this is the menu itself, or this is a GUI right here, profiles, and this is just the logo, the menu, and all that things, the different fonts, which is part of this full conversion mod. So you could start a new game, for example, and it would go to your mod or whatever, which you probably already have set up, and if not, this is not exactly the video to show that. So this is a GUI. Graphics, input, sound, and all that. The custom stories menu is also a GUI, and the inventory itself is also a GUI. It's located in a different location in the files, but it is also a GUI. So in order to get this up and running, first of all, there doesn't, as far as I've experienced, I've been messing around with this for a while now. As far as I've found out, it's kind of hard coded into the game, some of these files. Not necessarily the name of them, but it doesn't seem like you can point to a different sort of folder for it. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the game will use this GUI folder regardless, unless you exclude that folder from your resources file. However, if you do, it will crash unless you still have all the files that are inside here. So you will need to make a copy of it. So you copy this whole GUI folder in the main Amnesia folder, you go into your mod and you paste it in there instead. And then you go into config and open up your resources might be located right here depending on what you want. It can be located in config. I usually put it there just because it is, I think of it as a config file, but anyways. Open your resources file and find the line that says GUI. You want to take this away, because if you don't take it away, it will prefer to use the main one, so you will not be able to use your own. So what you can do instead of directly just deleting it is that you move it down to your own section or whatever, put it there, and you put your own mod in there. So mod example / GUI. So now instead of pointing to the normal GUI folder, it will be pointing to my GUI folder, which is identical at the moment. So I'm going to save the file, close it, and if you were to start the game, it would look the exact same. However, now you can go in and edit it. So you can, of course, edit the main one, but there's really no point, because most people won't have that. Like, that would just be if you want to edit it for your own, but if you want to edit it for your mod, you will need to include it in your mod folder, of course. So they contain the same files, but you want to edit the ones in your mod. So there are two folders, default and main menu. Main menu is the game's graphics, and default is the engine's graphics. And they are not really that much used, but I'm pretty sure you need to include them, because they're more like the core graphics, and the more like if you are running the game in debug mode, it will use those graphics in the, for example, the toolbar. So just to be sure, just keep this folder. It's not that big. 50 kilobyte is nothing to include in your mod. So the other one is almost a megabyte, which still is, it's not too much really. Basically, all of the GUI includes Targa images, TGAs, of all the different components around the thing. So it's kind of difficult to get into, but basically this one says GUI AMN MM, all of them do actually MM up to this point, and then it says button up BG. So this is the background of a button that is not pressed. So the button that is pushing out to you, basically, this is the background of that button. So if you actually look at it, it looks a little brownish, slightly textured. The file below it is button up border D, which is the border on the downside of the button. It's a very, very small file because this file is repeated for as long as the button is. So basically this background is also repeated for the size of the button, and then each of the sides are also repeated across and along the whole background to make it look like a button. And then there's down, left, right, up, and left down corner. It says button up corner LD, corner LU, RD, RU. So left down, left up, right down, right up. So these all include the button, but this is only, as you can see, it says button up. There is no button down. That is because that button down, the button down textures are not actually used. But you can use them if you'd like. At the very bottom of this folder is a file you can modify to actually change more of the, instead of the graphic, but more of the appearance in location and file usage and all that. So we're going to take a look at that soon. But here are some other files. For example, the checkbox, which is pretty. This one is pretty simple. Unchecked, unchecked. And then there are these, which are not actually used, as far as I know. They're only used in the engine itself, like in the level editors and such. And they are used. No, I don't know, because these same files are actually located in the default folder next to this one. So I'm not actually sure if these are used at all. Some of these files in here are actually not used at all. So you can delete them, but you want to be careful because if there's a file missing, your game will probably crash. So here, group border, down, left, right, up, and then group corner, the same thing as the buttons. Basically, if you recognize this texture from the game, you want to, of course, be starting up the game a lot when you are editing these files. Then you can see the difference right away. And I might not edit these. I might edit one just to show you the difference it makes, but I might not. I already have made a GUI, so I guess I could show you the result of that soon. But it does take a long time to edit all these because you need to be very precise, or else it might be a pixel off, and that looks really strange. This file right here, I don't think has anything in it. I think it's pretty much transparent all the way through. I don't think it, in the file at the bottom, if I go to the bottom, there is this GUI main menu.skin, which names all the files here used and where they're located and such. I don't think it's actually using that file, the group one. But you can use it if you like. There are many files that aren't used, and there are some files you can make to use them yourself. And then there's a list box, which is when you pressing down on the list, for example, resolution list. This is the background. And then there's the cursor. You can change a cursor if you like, the text cursor, and different others. So yeah, there are basically a lot of things you wanna. Here's the main background itself. So this one is pretty easy to edit, I suppose, because it's a lot easier to recognize it. The other ones are more like just the border themselves, borders, and they can be kind of tricky. And here are the corners, so they can be kind of tricky because you need to make them align properly at all sides, or else it will look weird. Right. So now we're at the bottom. There's not too many files, but there's, let's see, there's about 58 files in here. If you do open this one with a text editor, just any, let's take a look here, and I have a lot of them here. Let's try to just close that. Right, so this is what this file says right here. And if you go to the very top, it says GUI skin GFX elements. GFX elements is basically all the graphics, the files themselves, offsets, size, and color. So here it says the pointer type, or I mean the type of the graphic. So there's the pointer normal and pointer text, which is the cursor. And here's the file name for it. So you can change this file name to whatever you like. So for example, you can use something pretty short, but I recommend using something that is at least unique, because just in case it doesn't mess up and like mix it up with another file in the system. So yeah, what I named it was GUI and then my own custom underscore right there, and then pointer normal. And then there's the offset, which if you know what offset is, it basically pushes the texture away from the pivot point or the center, or not necessarily the center, but the point where that is actually located. So it pushes it to the sides. If you push it in positive, it will go to the right and down. If you push it in negative, change it to negative values, it will go up and to the right. The first one is the horizontal value, the second one is the vertical value. So negative vertical will go up and negative horizontal will go right, etc. The active size I have messed around with a lot, and I really do not understand how it works. I can't find the system in this thing, because it changes something, but it doesn't always change something. So it's very strange. I really don't know, because on the cursor itself, right now it's set to -1, -1, and I have tried setting this to 0, to 5, to 30, and it hasn't affected the graphic in the slightest. However, down here it has done something. I'm not sure what it has done, but I've noticed a difference. So I really don't know what it does. I can't say for sure. I really wish I would know, because it would help me out a lot to know what it does, of course. But I'm afraid I don't know. And then there's the last one, which is color. It has 4 values, RGBA, red, green, blue, and alpha. So basically the red value, like 1 is the max and 0 is the minimum. So if you put it to 0.5 in all values, it'll be gray, but also halfway transparent. The alpha, the last value, is the alpha, which is the transparency. So if it's 1, it's fully opaque, yeah. And if it is 0, it's completely transparent, and if it's somewhere in between, it'll be translucent at that percentage, basically. So that's basically how it is for all of these files, and as you see down here, here's the window graphics and frame graphics, and here is frame background. It's, as you can see, it has file empty. Normally it would be using the one that I said wasn't actually used. This group right here, or maybe not this one. I think actually the group was down here, wasn't it? Button graphics, menu graphics, maybe, I'm not sure, but it's somewhere in here. Frame background, it might be this one, or maybe someone is another file. But a lot of these, as you can see, they are left empty. That's because they're not actually used. But if you want to use them, you can duplicate a file and put the name in there, and then modify it as much as you'd like to use it. Just make sure that some of these actually have 0 at the end. So if a graphic isn't showing up, make sure that the last value right here is actually set to 1 and not 0. Right now, and down here, some of the values are set to in-between values, which is good in the way it's set up right now, but I like to set it to 1 either way so that I will have more control over it. Unless it needs to be transparent, then I like to set it all to 1 so that I can define the color and all that in the file itself and not through this code. Because, I mean, if I open the file in Photoshop and make it green, then I want it to be green and not like very light green or dark green or even brown if I mess with these colors. You can mess with these colors, but I I don't know, recommend. I prefer to set them all to 1111. I think it's easier that way. And that's pretty much the same repeating for all of these. There's a lot of files that you can actually make that aren't used, but if you make a file and put the name in there, you can use it right there. And down here at the bottom are the different attributes. So here you can, here's the font. Here are the fonts themselves. You can change the font file right here if you'd like, and the size of the font and the color. And here are the different locations. You can't modify everything of the GUI, just some slight things. For example, the offset, the space between the tabs, and where the font starts and where the different objects start appearing. But some of them are kind of stuck in relation to others, so it will take a lot of messing around. And some of these have only one value, which I think is kind of strange, because when it says a size or a location, I would expect at least two values, a horizontal and vertical, so I'm not actually sure. It looks like some of these have a completely abandoned one of those, so it only uses either horizontal or vertical, which is kind of strange, I think, but perhaps there's a reason for it. But anyways, it's kind of hard to explain. It's easier if you actually try it out yourself and just change the value to like 0 and load the game and see what changes, and then you change it back and then change it to different ones and see what actually changes, and then you can align it accordingly to what you want it to be. Alright, so that is the GUI for the menu itself. So let me go up here. You can rename this folder, it just needs to have the files. So right now I have this GUI folder with Win Classic, which is a GUI inspired, or pretty much replicating the Windows Classic design. So it looks like this. It's kind of similar to the default one actually, but as you can see, some of these files here are like classic Windows-ish. But anyways, there's a lot of files in here. For example, the cursor, the pointer. But one thing I will have to make note of is, let me just delete that and move this one in there instead. The graphic does not seem to be actually pixel accurate, which I find really annoying. But basically, it seems to be scaled down slightly, so it won't be perfect. Alright, so here you can see this is the GUI that I made, that I developed in some time, and it's Windows Classic. It doesn't look the same, of course, because there are limitations here to what you can do, but it's somewhat similar, as you can see. The X button up here, I have noticed the graphic on the button itself disappears often. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. I don't know why, but the X is usually always there, but the button around it is not there right now. Alright, so let me go to options. Here you can see how the options look, basically the checkboxes and all that. The graphics, the different tabs. These tabs are usually separated by space. I made them not separated and push up when they are active, which are things you can do. And then there are these things. A lot of other things you can do. It's a little glitchy here for some reason, I'm not sure why, because this slider pushes it down like 2 pixels. But anyways, that is basically it, and that's the GUI itself. Now, there is the inventory itself, which is very similar, but it's not located in GUI, it's located in graphics. So what you want to do here is that, I think you've got to do the exact same, where you go over to the main files and you copy the graphics folder, because it will prefer to use that one, because I don't know if there's actually any, there doesn't seem to be any config file where you define which files it's going to be using, where you can actually change the default files. So it looks like you will need to trick the game to think that the default files are actually located in your mod. So you will deny access to the default ones, and you will only have yours. So copy over the graphics folder, just like you did with the GUI, and you add it to your resources file. Also delete the old the old graphics from resources. And here you have very much the same. You might already have the graphics folder if you've made things, but you just need to make sure that it actually includes everything. You might not actually need a p-test one, but it could be nice to have. Yeah, it might be nice to have actually, because if you're using any of these items. But just make sure that you actually have the file, even if you're not using it. It's important to have the file if it's ever referenced, because your game might crash if you can't find it. So there's the inventory folder right here, which is very similar. It has all of these files very much like the GUI, where it says D, L, R, U, L, D, L, U, R, U, R, D, and R, U, etc. It has the exact same, and you can go at the very bottom, or actually, let's see, where is the, where's the skin file? Is the skin file not in here? I thought it was a skin file. Yeah, oh wait, actually this one doesn't have a skin file itself, but in your config folder, in, let's see, I think it's a menu. If you go down, you will see inventory. This is where you define the different fonts, size, and the color, and all the different things like you would have done in a skin file. So there's a lot of things. You can move around the different oil centers and journal where the buttons are going to be around your inventory and change the graphics. So if I actually start with the game again, I haven't actually modified that much. I have modified it a little bit. Let me see, I'll just start that one. It's a little strange right there, because as you can see right now, I was just messing around to try to understand how the files looked. So I did a similar thing with the Windows Classic, where I just took the files and tried to put them around here. And as you can see, I also rearranged things. So the tinderbox is down here, and the sanity is completely gone, which is something you can do. And yeah, so basically why I chose Windows Classic was because it's a very simple GUI. It's very, very basic. So I used that as a guideline to start to understand how all the files are used, so that if I do a change on this file, then I will see that it looks a little different up here, and then I will know that this file is used there and there and there and all that stuff. So I recommend getting used to get to know the GUI before drawing it. But if you feel like you're ready to draw it right away, then you can of course go ahead and do that. Do just that. So let me go in here and just show you an example of something I can modify. Go to graphics, inventory. There are many things you can do. For example, this one, if you change this one, it's very expected you will change the icon for the journal. Inventory, oil background, and the oil itself, bubbles, sanity, and health, and all that. But let me go into GUI, Win Classic, and let's see, window. Let's try the window one. The upper border of the window. I'll drag that into Photoshop and show you an example of me editing the file. Which, it's very simple, but you just need to know what to do, because you can't just draw something here, because this doesn't really tell you much. Right now it's just like this. It's 3 pixels thick. This color, this color, this color, and then there's nothing here. But that would have been gray unless it was defined by the alpha channel to only render the 3 bottom pixels. So you gotta make sure that you only do that. But anyways, if I, for example, now take out a pencil and just start drawing, let's just draw in white up here, something like that. Modify it however you'd like. In the alpha channel, you will need to make sure that you actually have it added to the alpha channel, or else it will not be visible even if you draw it. So I'm not sure if this will actually hit it, but let's just see. If I click back here, I'm not sure. It might catch some of the pixels, but if I miss them, then they will be black. So now if I save this file, it will replace it. It looks like that actually now. It's very ugly, but let's go with it and restart the game. And launch. And as you can see up here, it looks disgusting, but it works. It has this weird ass line up here. But it is modified, as you can see. So that's basically what you do. It's very simple what you do. It just takes some time to know what to do and all that. So let's see, it's back to normal. You can save the file, and then it's back to how I used it. But anyways, I think that would actually be it for this video. I hope you found it helpful in any way, shape, or form. And if you did, I would really appreciate a like on the video. It motivates me to make more of these. Also, maybe you could suggest something for me to do next time, because right now it's been a while since my last video, so I think it might just be that I don't really know what to do from now on. I have quite a lot of videos, and I'm not sure exactly what to make a tutorial on next time. So if you come with any suggestions, that would be very nice too. Otherwise, as for the series, I'm still working on it, but I don't feel like I have enough to show for an episode. Right now I've just been doing some story stuff, some concept stuff, and thinking on some puzzles and doing some simple models, but all of that would probably not take me more than 5 or 10 minutes to show. And I want, I guess I want the videos to be like 15-20 minutes from now on, if I'm actually going to be showing what I have done rather than me doing it. I think that's going to be a bit better, although it won't be as much filler basically, so it won't be as boring, I suppose. But anyways, that would be it for this video. I will stop rambling now, and I'll thank you for watching, and I will see you later.